You think you're so great because you have both.
Ridley Scott's film, Napoleon, featuring Joaquin Phoenix, presents a dramatized version of significant events in the life of the French emperor. While certain scenes and moments in the movie align with historical accuracy,
how much of the film is, in your terms, accurate?
Of the 2 hours, 38 minutes, I'd say 38 minutes.
others either emblemish the truth or delve into outright fiction. Ridley Scott passionately defended the liberties taken with history, suggesting that the film may resonate more with casual history enthusiasts than with meticulous history buffs who seek precision in every detail. Considering his kind comments towards critics and historians, well, we all know how that turned out. Not to mention the interesting reflections that he is so keen to share about the great emperor, he made an entire film about it. So, let's look at how historically inaccurate Napoleon turned out.
Wrong!
Napoleon Bonaparte was not present at the execution of Marie Antoinette. The opening scene of the Napoleon movie portrays the final moments of Queen Marie Antoinette, the last reigning queen of France. At this point, King Louis XVI had already faced the guillotine as the French Revolution reached its culmination. While the execution unfolded as intended, including the representation of Marie Antoinette's head, certain smaller details in the movie were inaccurately depicted. Historically, Marie Antoinette had her hair cut short, and her request to wear a black dress was denied. Instead, she was compelled to wear white during her execution. In contrast, the Napoleon movie presents the last French queen in the manner she desired, deviating from the executioner's directives. This subtle departure from historical accuracy could be interpreted as the film's way of expressing sympathy towards Marie Antoinette's plight.
And without me, you are nothing.
I'm nothing.
And you will do anything!
I'll do anything.
Wrong!
Napoleon was not as harsh in his treatment of his wife, Josephine. The Napoleon movie boldly delves into the personal drama and happiness surrounding Napoleon Bonaparte's marriage to historical figure Josephine de Beauharnais, portrayed by Vanessa Kirby. While the film aligns with the overarching narrative, such as Napoleon divorcing Josephine due to her inability to produce an heir, it takes liberties with the intimate details. In reality, Napoleon held deep affection for his wife, making it challenging to accept the dysfunctional scenes depicted between him and Josephine in the movie as accurate historical representations.
You are nothing without me.
Despite the imperfections of the French emperor and empress as human beings, historical accounts present a different perspective than the portrayal in the Napoleon movie concerning the dynamics of Napoleon and Josephine's relationship.
And then we will have an answer to this nagging question of who is keeping who from an heir to the throne of France.
Wrong!
Napoleon did not test his fertility with the teenage girl. Similar to King Henry VIII centuries before him, Emperor Napoleon I was singularly focused on securing an heir to ensure the continuity of his dynasty. Facing the challenge that his wife Josephine could not provide him with a child, Napoleon grew desperate. The Napoleon movie humorously embraced this concept, portraying the emperor's unconventional decision to test his fertility one night. In the film, Napoleon is arranged with a girl in her late teens, the notion being that if he could impregnate her, it would confirm that the heir issue lay with Josephine and not him. However, there is no historical evidence supporting such a scene, making it a fabrication by the Napoleon movie to entertain audiences. Historical records do indicate that Napoleon eventually did have an heir, albeit not from Josephine.
Wrong!
Napoleon didn't shoot the Egyptian pyramids with cannons. Following the victorious War of the First Coalition in the 1790s and Napoleon Bonaparte's rise to prominence in revolutionary France, he was dispatched to Egypt and the Middle East to disrupt the British Empire's activities in the region. This mission led to further conflicts, including the notably one-sided Battle of the Pyramids, where Napoleon effortlessly overcame Ottoman resistance. In the film depicting Napoleon's exploits, this particular battle receives only brief attention. Instead, the movie focuses more on cinematic spectacle, showcasing scenes of Napoleon's cannons dramatically demolishing the summits of the renowned Egyptian pyramids. While visually striking, this portrayal deviates from historical accuracy, as no such event occurred in reality, and the technology of the time did not allow cannons to launch projectiles to such heights.
I found the crown of France in the gutter. I picked it up with the tip of my sword and cleaned it and placed it atop my own head.
Wrong!
Napoleon's self-coronation was not a significant surprise. The Napoleon movie depicts the coronation of First Consul Napoleon Bonaparte as Emperor of the French, an event that occurred midway through the film and generally aligned with historical facts. Napoleon's journey from participating in the overthrow of a monarch to becoming one himself is captured in broad strokes. However, the movie takes creative liberties with the details, enhancing the scene for audience excitement. In actual history, Napoleon did crown himself instead of relying on the Pope, but the act was not a surprising twist for those observing the event. In contrast, the film portrays the self-coronation as a scandalous and shocking moment, likely aiming to amplify Napoleon's bold and charismatic persona for a more thrilling cinematic experience.
Wrong!
Napoleon didn't really come from nothing. For added dramatic flair, the Napoleon movie claimed that Napoleon Bonaparte rose from nothing to conquer everything. This, however, is an exaggeration of historical reality. While Napoleon did ascend from a humble artillery officer to an emperor capable of defeating Europe's united armies, he was not truly starting from scratch. Napoleon's family hailed from Corsica, where they held a status as minor nobility. This background provided him with a modest foundation, serving as an early springboard for his career that commenced in his late teens. Despite not relying on aristocratic privilege in Paris, Napoleon was not completely unknown. Additionally, although he successfully conquered most of his adversaries, it's crucial to note that he faced setbacks such as being unable to subdue Spain in the Peninsular War and never overcoming his staunchest rival, the British Empire.
Wrong!
Napoleon did not personally lead cavalry charges in conventional battles. In the early stages of his career, historical accounts depict Napoleon Bonaparte as a relatively modest officer who fought alongside his men as an equal. As he advanced, Napoleon evolved into a seasoned general, recognized as too valuable to risk in direct cavalry charges. While cinematic portrayals, like in the Battle of Borodino, may depict Napoleon personally leading charges for dramatic effect, he was not akin to King Theodine charging at Pelennor Fields. The Napoleon movie opted for dramatic flair and style by showing Napoleon at the forefront of cavalry charges. Typically, a general of his stature would remain secure behind friendly lines, coordinating battles from the safety of a tent filled with maps. The risk of a stray cannonball or musket shot jeopardizing Napoleon's career was substantial. Nevertheless, historical records do recount instances of Napoleon's marshals, his most esteemed officers, braving enemy fire as they led their troops into battle.
My dear sir, it is only by a narrow margin of opinion that you have been spared the fate of being shot.
Wrong!
Napoleon did not encounter the Duke of Wellington at Waterloo or in any other location. As anticipated, the climatic moment of the Napoleon movie unfolded with the Battle of Waterloo, marking Napoleon's final stand as the preeminent military leader in Europe at the time. The fundamental details were accurate, depicting Napoleon's urgent campaign to defeat his adversaries before they could fully assemble. His objective was to engage the British and Prussians in present-day Belgium, and time was of the essence. While the battle was captivating, it did take liberties with certain details, particularly in the dramatized encounter between Napoleon and the historical figure Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington. The film portrayed a moment where the opposing commanders exchanged respects as the battle concluded. However, there is no historical evidence to support the notion that Napoleon and the Duke of Wellington had such a meeting. In reality, they never crossed paths. Ridley Scott's Napoleon movie remains a subject of ongoing discussion among historians. underscoring the enduring tension between historical precision and creative interpretation in cinematic depictions of renowned figures. However, considering the primary purpose of movies as entertainment, what are your overall thoughts on the film?